Hello, friends. Craig Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Throwback Thursday. So we've got some great throwback Toronto Blue Jays stories today. One involving a epic and awesome game, come from behind victory that took place at Fenway Park. This is back in the day. This is right as Gausman was taking over as manager for the Toronto Blue Jays. Also got a Roy Halladay story to share with you later today. But first, hey, the last couple Throwback Thursdays, it's just been throwback stories, right? The Blue Jays have been off, but we've got action today. The Blue Jays have a game. They finished this series. Hasn't been a very fun series at Fenway Park, but coming up in just a moment here, we'll deep dive. What does Kevin Gausman and the Toronto Blue Jays need to do to make sure that they get this victory tonight against Brayan Bello and the Boston Red Sox?
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Craig Ballard. I am Locked On Blue Jays. I'm thankful that you're choosing to spend part of your day talking Toronto Blue Jay baseball with me. For the everydayers that are making the Locked On Blue Jay podcast your first podcast listen, certainly want to thank you for that. And for those of you taking this in on YouTube, a tip of the cap, a hello to you there as well. 6:10 p.m. Eastern is the first pitch tonight, as the Blue Jays probably going to be pretty pleased to get the heck out of Fenway Park. Weren't quite themselves in this series overall, as we saw. Now, keep in mind, of course, like any Blue Jay game, you can take it in on Sirius XM. Really great news today, of course, is that it's Kevin Gausman on the mound. Now, if you were to just look on the surface, you'd see Gausman sitting there at 2-2, 2.33 ERA. I mean, the 2.33 ERA is very good. Blue Jays 4-1 when Gausman has pitched. And speaking of that 2.33 ERA, let's understand here that you remember that start Gausman had against Houston a few weeks back, where he allowed 7 earned runs in that first inning. My goodness. Outside of that first inning, whatever the heck that was in Houston, right? Gausman has thrown 37 2/3 innings this season, 3 runs. That's it. 3 runs in 37 2/3 outside of whatever the heck that first inning was in Houston. So he has been absolutely incredible, very literally as good as there is in all of baseball. What did we see from Gausman the last time out? Well, he generated 20 swings and misses with his splitter last time out. Are you absolutely kidding me? I've never seen that before. I don't even know that if it is a record, but would not surprise me, because that was just a masterful performance. It was the dictionary definition of domination. Now, from their days in the National League West together, Justin Turner has seen Gausman, many times, and he's hit Gausman as well. He's the only Red Sox that Gausman will face tonight who's ever homered in the past off Gausman. He's gotten a couple home runs off of Gausman. Finally today, we'll have a pitcher who has owned Alex Verdugo, right? It's been the other way around. Alex Verdugo's done very well against Blue Jay pitching, has done very well in the series, but in his career against Kevin Gausman, just 1 for 11. Okay, come on, please, guys. A lot more of that, right? A lot more of that. Somehow, Rob Riefschneider, and you'll have to make this make sense. Somehow the Red Sox have this guy hitting third. He's one of the worst hitters I've ever seen in my life. And he's actually hit Gausman well in his career. I don't get it at all. But okay. Kiki Hernandez, total domination for Kevin Gausman against Kiki Hernandez, at least so far in their careers. Kiki just 1 for 10, and Gausman has struck him out 5 times. How about our old pal Reese McGuire? How's he fared against Kevin Gausman? Well, actually, Reese, never going to be known as much of a hitter, but he's 3 for 4 career against Kevin Gausman, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Kevin Gausman, over the course of his career, I think you'd say he's been decent at best when he's pitched at Fenway Park, but it is certainly worth knowing that the 2023 animal, Kevin Gausman, has never stepped foot on the mound at Fenway Park. This is a very different pitcher. This is a locked-in pitcher whose stuff has just been incredible in 2023. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the Blue Jays end this series. Again, it's not been a very fun series, but looking forward to seeing the Blue Jays end it on a high note. I mean, don't we feel great every single time Kevin Gausman is taking the mound in 2023? It's 2022 Alek Manoah vibes, isn't it? How confident we were every single time Manoah took the ball last season. Man, that's been 2023 Kevin Gausman. He has been something. Brayan Bello on the other side of things, he'll oppose Gausman, and it's on paper you've got this veteran Gausman just pitching unbelievable baseball, and then here comes Brayan Bello. Now Brayan Bello's just walking in the door to Major League Baseball. In fact, this is just his 15th career start. Hasn't gotten off to a great start on the big league level, just a 2-9 record. I shouldn't say just, I mean, that's a terrible record, 2-9. ERA over 5. Would you believe, even though this is only his 15th career start, it's already his 4th versus the Blue Jays, just from schedule, quirks and things like that. This is already his 4th start against the Toronto Blue Jays. Has yet to allow a home run to a Blue Jay batter, but worth noting, the Jays have hit him hard every time they've seen him. For this season, this is Bayo's 4th start of the season. He's been rocked each time out, given a base runners, just allowing left, right, and center. I mean, people are on base left, right, and center against this guy. Wow. Now, worth mentioning that this last time out, I will say this for Bayo, the last time out for Bayo was probably the best start of his young career. So hopefully not some momentum going for this young man, right? He's a hard thrower. He's a very hard thrower. He's most effective when he mixes in that changeup. So I'll have to keep an eye on that today. Blue Jays normally a team that can turn around a fastball. So I have to imagine they're going up there tonight looking to do damage to that fastball. It's what they've done damage against Bayo in the past. George Springer, oh boy. George Springer, 6 for 9. How about that? Is that domination? 6 for 9 against Brian Bayo. We absolutely have to look for a big game from Springer tonight, who continues to look for ways to get out of the early season funk that he's in. He's hitting the ball hard, a lot. You would think, if you just watch Springer play, you would think he would have a lot more to show for his at-bats this season, but we know that, at least on the surface, he doesn't. But again, Bayo could well provide the cure for what ails George Springer. 6 for 9, that's absolutely dominant. Bo 3 for 7. Hey, nothing to sneeze at there. Heck, Vladdy, speaking of nothing to sneeze at, Vladdy's 3 for 8. So the top of this Blue Jay lineup has done very well in the past against Brian Bayo. Kevin Kiermaier has faced Bayo just one time, got a double. I imagine this will be one of those games where we see Kirk and Jansen in the lineup, as they both did well in 2022 against Bayo, each of them going 2 for 4. There was a double in there as well. Now, Matt Chapman has been owned by Bayo. That's the one Blue Jay in this lineup where we'll have to keep an eye on. But as we talked earlier about how this is a brand new animal on the mound, this Kevin Gausman, this 2023 Kevin Gausman is a different animal than Boston's seen before. Well, yes, Chapman has not done well against Bayo in the past, but 2023 Matt Chapman, I think we're thinking that's a different animal so far, right? Go Jays, go. Greg Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays, Throwback Thursday. Let's get into some Throwback Thursday Toronto Blue Jays stories. How about the time back in 1989? It was recent, it was recent at that time when Cito Gasson had recently, I should say, taken over very reluctantly, right, as manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. Cito Gasson became the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, kicking and screaming. They wanted him from day one. He was crystal clear. He and his wife wanted nothing to do with a full-time managerial job. He would end up being their manager for numerous years. In fact, twice, right? He came back again later on and was the Blue Jay manager. So things certainly did work out, but he was very trepidatious about being a full-time MLB manager. Very reluctantly took the job. Shortly thereafter, Blue Jays find themselves in Fenway Park for one of the epic games. If you can believe, I remember watching this game. And it was incredible. It was, and we're going to see here, I mean, dictionary definition, you've heard it a zillion times in your life. No lead is safe at Fenway Park. Well, this is one of the games they're referring to. It's 5-0 Boston right away. First inning, it's 5-0 Boston right away. Boston adds another in the second, another in the third, another in the fourth. It's 8-0 right out the gate. By the time Ellis Burks would hit a sac fly in the 6th inning, it was 10-0 Boston as we were headed to the 7th. 10-0 in the 7th inning. Blue Jays would be handed 2 runs by a bunch of Bob Stanley walks, so now it's 10-2. Go to the 8th, George Bell, Fred McGriff, Lloyd Mosby, Rance Mulliniks. These guys would put together a rally against Bob Stanley, a 4-run rally. It's 10-6. 10-6 going into the 9th. I mean, it's better than 10-0, right? We're probably not super excited just yet. Well, the Red Sox had to go to their closer, Lee Smith, and I remember so clearly the announcers were stunned that they had to go to a closer. It was 10-0 mere minutes ago, right? Now all of a sudden the closer's coming in, and Lee Smith, you should have seen his body language. Speaking of stunned, he was blown away, shocked to have to be part of this baseball game. More Throwback Thursday in a moment. And remember, you can always catch the Blue Jays games on Sirius XM. And be sure to check in tomorrow as I'll get you set for the weekend series as the Blue Jays head into Pittsburgh to take on the absolutely on fire Pittsburgh Pirates. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/lockedonmlb and get on your way to being your best self. How much time do you spend on yourself in a given week versus how much time do you spend on other people? And how do you balance the two? It's so easy to get caught up in what everyone else needs from you and never take a moment to think about what you need from yourself. But when we spend all of our time giving, it can leave us feeling stretched thin and burnt out. Well, therapy can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself and isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonmlb to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonmlb. So here's the stunned Lee Smith in the ninth inning. Tony Fernandez base hit, Kelly Gruber walk, George Bell double, makes it 10-7, and all of a sudden, my goodness, again, mere minutes ago, 10-0. Now all of a sudden, here comes the tying run to the plate, and it's Fred McGriff. Now, Lee Smith would strike out Fred McGriff in a dramatic at-bat there, but he would walk Mosby, which loaded the bases. So 10-7, bases loaded, 2 out, Ernie Witt, grand slam. Are you absolutely kidding me? And Cito Gaston, again, not new to the Blue Jays, he was their hitting coach, but new to the managerial aspect of the Toronto Blue Jays, and he was just standing there leaning up against the post at Fenway Park in the dugout there, just stunned. His body language was telling the story of, what am I witnessing here? Holy moly. Yes, an Ernie Witt grand slam takes a 10-0 Boston game. It is now 11-10 Blue Jays. Would you believe the story doesn't end there? Tom Henke would actually blow the save in the bottom of the ninth. The Blue Jays, Cito actually had to go to David Wells to get the final out in the bottom of the ninth inning just to keep Boston from winning that game in the bottom of the ninth. So now it's 11-11, and we're going to extra innings. And, of course, this is eons before that free runner at second base in extra innings, right? The Red Sox would threaten again in the bottom of the 10th, but Dwayne Ward would hang on to preserve the 11-11 tie. We're going to the 11th, end up going to the 12th. Top of the 12th, Junior Felix. And now Junior Felix 2 days earlier had won the game at Fenway for the Blue Jays with an inside the park grand slam. So he was no stranger to highlights and heroics for the Blue Jays in this ballpark. Two days previous, he would hit a 2-run home run off of former Toronto Blue Jay reliever Dennis Lamp. My goodness. So now the Blue Jays are up 13-11 going to the bottom of the 12th inning in just this epic, insane, crazy game. Dwayne Ward, who we deep dived Dwayne Ward in yesterday's Locked On Blue Jays episode. Dwayne Ward would get the Red Sox 3 up, 3 down to close out the improbable and incredible victory. 13-11's the final, so no pitchers were effective except Dwayne Ward. Ward went 3 shutout innings for the win. One of the most incredible comeback victories I've ever seen. Back with more Locked On Blue Jays in just a moment. Locked On Blue Jays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Be sure to catch tonight's Blue Jays game on Sirius XM, and be sure to tune in tomorrow as we get you set for the Blue Jays weekend series in Pittsburgh. Now, did you discover, and have you ever discovered any subscriptions that you forgot about? Like the old try it free for 30 days, just enough time to try it and then completely forget about it, right? Well, over 80% of people have subscriptions they have forgot about. You could be wasting money and not even realizing it. Rocket Money helps you find those forgotten subscriptions so you can stop paying for the ones you don't use. Do you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most people think they spend about $80 a month on subscriptions, while the actual total is closer to $200. And if you don't know how much you're spending each month, then you need Rocket Money. Rising prices stressing you out? If you're looking for ways to cut costs, you need Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they've forgotten about, and chances are you may be one of them. Like that Stars app just to watch that one show, or that free gaming trial that you never really actually used, right? Rocket Money will quickly and easily find your subscriptions for you, and any you don't want anymore, you just hit cancel, and Rocket Money will do that for you. Yeah, that easy. Rocket Money also helps you manage all your finances in one place and automatically categorizes your expenses so you can easily track your budget in real time and get alerted if anything looks off. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, saving the average person up to $720 a year. Stop throwing away your money. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Craig Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays, back with you. Locked On Blue Jays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And for our final story today on Throwback Thursday, going to take a look at certainly one of my favorite Toronto Blue Jays of all time, part of the triple bobblehead down here with Pat Henkin and Dave Stieb. Awesome bobblehead, the triple bobblehead there. And that, of course, Roy Halladay. Man, Roy Halladay, I'm sure is likely one of your favorites of all time as well. Super easy to cheer for. Was such an incredible pitcher. Seemed like such an incredible person as well. Would you believe? Well, you know what? We'll get to that in a minute here. Because I was going to say, would you believe? Okay, we'll get to that in a moment here. But 12 of his 16 seasons with the Toronto Blue Jays, over the course of his career as a Toronto Blue Jay, amassed a 148-76 record. Is that going to work? I mean, incredible. 3.43 ERA, 6-time All-Star as a Toronto Blue Jay, and 5 times finished top 5 in Cy Young voting as a Toronto Blue Jay. We know he went on to have 4 really good seasons with Philadelphia as well, but in his time as Toronto, my gosh, all of that racked that up, of course, in 2003 as a Toronto Blue Jay. Never mind top 5 Cy Young voting. He actually won the Cy Young, of course, in 2003. And would it surprise you, if you don't know already, to find out that the worst season in the history of Major League Baseball, yes, you did hear that correct, the worst season in the history of Major League Baseball by a starting pitcher was authored by Roy Halladay. Roy Halladay. I know you're thinking, okay, Greg, you're gonna pull the rug out here. It's a different person named Roy Halladay. It's Doc Halladay, guys. It's Toronto Blue Jay legend Roy Halladay. And his historically bad season came out of absolutely nowhere. Doc was called up at the very end of 1998. He made 2 starts and then ended up throwing 149 and a third innings pitched the next season in 1999. Had a 3.92 ERA. He did struggle. That was his official rookie season in 99. He did struggle with control, but still could not have seen what was coming in the year 2000. In the year 2000, Roy Halladay, 4-7 record, 10.64 ERA. Yeah, I'm going to have to say that again, aren't I? 4-7 record, big deal. That can't be the worst season ever. 10.64 ERA. It's the worst single season ERA in baseball's history. All told that season, Roy Halladay would throw just over a 67 innings pitched. He would give up 107 hits. Pardon me, 67 innings, 107 hits from Roy Halladay. How? 42 walks. So 67 innings, 42 walks. Holy moly. 44 strikeouts. So not only is he walking so many batters, giving up 1,000 hits, but his strikeout per walk ratio was 1-to-1. Like, are you absolutely kidding me? This was Roy Halladay. His whip that season, walks and hits per innings pitched, was 2.2. So every single inning in the year 2000, Roy Halladay averaged 2.2 runners on base. Holy moly. Only 67 innings pitched, yet somehow allowed 14 home runs. The final game he pitched that season, the Baltimore Orioles beat the Blue Jays 23-1. I'm going to have to again say, yes, you did hear that correctly. Baltimore beat the Blue Jays 23-1 in the last game Doc pitched in the year 2000. Roy Halladay in that game, how crazy is this? He only recorded 2 outs. Baltimore scored 7 runs on 5 hits. Now, all 7 of those runs, would you believe, were unearned. So that actually lowered Roy Halladay's ERA, worst ERA in single season ERA in baseball history. That actually lowered his ERA from 10.75 to 10.64. So you'd think on the surface that was a good thing. He lowered his ERA, but then you take a look at the outing. My gosh, again, he only got 2 men out. Gave up 7 hits, 7 runs on 5 hits. Just happened to be none of them happened to be earned. Okay. My goodness. In the year 2000, if you're around for that Toronto Blue Jay team, then you'll remember that the catchers on that team were Alberto Castillo and Darren Fletcher. Well, Roy Halladay was an equal opportunity stinker. His ERA with Castillo was 9.7. Holy moly. His ERA with Fletcher, 11.07. Holy moly. Yes, there's no punchline coming here. Yes, it's the Roy Halladay that you're thinking of. I know. Very, very hard to believe. Now we're coming into the 2001 season, and new manager at the time, Blue Jays' new manager was Buck Martinez. Shout out to Buck Martinez. And Buck Martinez has to give Roy Halladay the news that he's not just being demoted down to AAA. He's not even being demoted to Double-A. The Toronto Blue Jays sent Roy Halladay all the way back to Instruction League A-Ball in Dunedin, Florida. At that time, former longtime pitching coach Mel Queen was working on special assignment with some of the youngsters, the people who were just drafted in that, the teenagers in the development league there. They sent him down, sit with Mel Queen. Let's figure this thing out. Wow. Just incredible. And Mel Queen, at the time, the Blue Jays general manager was Gord Ash, and he described the issue with Doc Halladay. His release point was straight over the top. So if you imagine that motion, Gord Ash said it was just like a pitching machine, which if you imagine it, yeah, I can see that. It's just like a pitching machine. So because he was coming straight from the top, his pitches were straight as an arrow. He was still running the fastball up there in the mid-90s, right? You'd think that would have some effect, but not if it's straight as an arrow. Big league hitters are on the big league level because they can deal with a pitch, even if it's 95, 96. If it's straight as an arrow, big league hitters can deal with it. So Mel Queen broke the entire thing down. The everything from start to finish. So even the windup was now different. He changed everything from Roy Halladay. Instead of coming right over the top, he had Roy come right from the side. And the results were the Roy Halladay that we ended up growing to love, right? That move from the release point, right, going from the top there, that pitching machine, down to the side. Now, all of a sudden, Roy Halladay couldn't throw a pitch straight if he wanted or needed to. This movement, this change in mechanics, generated insane movement on Roy Halladay's pitches. He also had Harvey Dorfman working with him. Harvey Dorfman, they may be familiar with you. He's a noted sports psychologist because, of course, Doc between the ears, all of a sudden, coming up in 98, big-time prospect, 99, okay, watch out. Remember, it was supposed to be Roy Halladay and Chris Carpenter as the 1-2 punch for the Blue Jays for years to come, but did not work out from Carpenter's standpoint. It didn't work out because of injuries and that, and he would end up with having stellar seasons with the St. Louis Cardinals, but that's a story for another day. But for Roy Halladay, it wasn't working out because his stuff was getting dealt with. Now Doc starts to rise again through the ranks. He's seeing more and more success as he climbs through the ranks. His confidence is building more and more as he rises back to the major league pitcher that he firmly believes he should be, of course. Back in July, he's back on the MLB level. Now, very ironic, his first start, it was like super early July. I want to say like July 2nd. It was super early July in that year, in 2001. He gets rocked his first time back on the major league level. Didn't even last a third inning. I think he pitched a 2 1/3 inning, got absolutely rocked. Put it this way, his ERA coming out of that game was 23.14. So more than double the 10.64, the worst record he had, right? But his next start was against Les Expos, was against the Montreal Expos, and he tossed a 6-inning gem. Especially the work he had done with Dorfman, the sports psychologist, he was just able to flush that previous start. He got back to the things that he and Mel Queen had been working on. Again, that more sidearm delivery. Now he can't throw a ball straight to save his life. Getting insane movement. Throws a 6-inning gem, striking out 10 Montreal Expos. And remember all the walk issues, all the control issues? Did not walk a batter. 10 strikeouts, did not walk a batter. Okay, is this the Roy Halladay that we've been looking for? Is this guy back? He would be. He would make that 2001, he would make 6 starts in September. So he just continued to climb, continued to build his arsenal, but continued to build his confidence. He would make 6 starts for the Toronto Blue Jays in September that season. His ERA in those 6 starts would be an absolutely minuscule 1.63. And no one was walking, and everyone was striking out. It was the Roy Halladay we know and love. No one was walking. Everybody was striking out. He would actually finish that 2001 comeback season with a nifty little 3.16 ERA. He would build on that the next season. By the time 2003 came, it was Cy Young contender, and in 2003, Cy Young winner, Roy Halladay, that we all knew and loved. Isn't that insane? Worst single season in baseball history from a starting pitcher belongs to Roy Halladay. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's one of the best we ever saw. Absolutely incredible. Well, that'll do it for this week's Throwback Thursday. Certainly thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the show. Tune back in tomorrow as we'll get you set. We're going to deep dive this 3-game weekend series coming up in Pittsburgh. Very ironic that it's a series to be concerned with because Pittsburgh Pirates have been terrible for so long. Everydayers will remember, we've actually touched on Pittsburgh a few weeks back for a different subject. And I was mentioning then that coming into the season, I thought Pittsburgh could be a 500 team. I thought they could surprise some people by being competitive in 2023. Absolutely did not see coming what we've seen coming, which is never mind competitive. They're downright good. So we'll get you set for that weekend series. Keep in mind that today's game is a 6:10 p.m. Eastern first pitch time, and you can catch that game on Sirius XM. Keep it locked on the Locked On Podcast Network and check out today's episode of Locked On MLB. And if you're a fantasy baseball fan like myself, then check out Locked On Fantasy.